Venezuela and Guyana have attempted to get more time to make a stronger case to the International Court of Justice, the ICJ. However, Guyana objects to the length of extension time requested by the Spanish-speaking country, saying it's too long. You will remember that the two South American nations are locked in a border dispute involving a one-third portion of a territory in Guyana called Essequibo. A few days ago, representatives of the neighboring countries put forward the request at a meeting with the ICJ's new president, Judge Nawaf Salam. Stay with us. We will break down everything you need to know about this new development on the infamous Venezuela claim of ownership to the Essequibo region. You are watching The Final Takeaway. Thanks for joining us and subscribing to our channel for exclusive reports and updates on the Guyana-Venezuela border squabble. Based on reports, the ICJ's president called the meeting with the two countries to determine if there is a need for them to submit more documents and evidence to the court to make their case on the validity of the arbitral award of 1899. This award is a document that officially made Guyana the owner of the territory of Essequibo. Essequibo lies close to Venezuela's eastern border. The Spanish country continues to claim that the territory falls within Venezuela's map and therefore belongs to it. Giving Venezuela a prolonged period of additional time will only delay the final decision in this case, which was filed by Guyana approximately 6 years ago. For some reason, Venezuela seems to want to buy time to build its case over a territory that does not belong to it in the first place. Way back in 1899, a group of lawyers hearing the case between Britain and Venezuela decided that Essequibo fell within the boundaries of what was then British Guyana. The legal arbitrators then issued a document called the Arbitral Award of 1899 to Guyana as proof of their decision and as proof of Guyana's ownership of Essequibo. Venezuela says the document is invalid in that there was a conspiracy to dispossess it of Essequibo. Venezuela has a long history of denying that Essequibo rightfully belongs to Guyana, and this dates back all the way to 1899. However, based on reports that are documented in history, Venezuela had initially accepted the arbitral award, but subsequently said it was invalid. That sort of led to the signing of an agreement called the Geneva Agreement, where the two countries, Guyana and Venezuela, came together and signed agreeing that they will settle the matter in a court if they were unable to come to an agreement and settle the dispute between themselves, in that the UN, the United Nations, would have the power to appoint a court to determine the case, decide who really has ownership of Essequibo if the two parties could not come to an agreement. And they failed to come to an agreement after, I think it was 4 years that was mandated in the Geneva Agreement, which led to the ICJ becoming the court nominated to hear the case. And even though Venezuela had agreed to this, it still has a problem with the ICJ having jurisdiction to hear this case. It keeps saying Venezuela does not, the ICJ does not have the jurisdiction or the power to hear this case. Yet it's still trying to argue its case before the very court it says does not have jurisdiction to do so. So thus, just a little backstory on this whole case and some of the developments to help you understand where we're at. Presently, the case is before the ICJ, And as soon as both sides, both countries make their pleadings and submit all their documents and evidence, and the court says, okay, we have enough, let's move to the next stage, then we can hope for, a decision sooner than later. But it could be several years before a final decision is handed down by the court regarding as to the validity of the 1899 arbitral award. After listening to both sides, the ICJ is allowing Guyana and Venezuela additional time to argue their case before the court. However, the court is also to determine how much time each party will get to submit more information and when to set a date for the next stage of the case. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal led the group representing Guyana. The others included Carl Greenidge, who's Guyana's agent at the ICJ, and legal counsels Philippe Sands and Pierre D'Argent. In a press statement, Nandlal said both sides eventually agreed to have another opportunity to give more information to the court to prove their case. Guyana is asking for a timeline of 6 months from the time Venezuela last submitted documents to the court, which was in April of this year. The proposed 6-month timeline by Guyana will mean they have until October 8th of this year to further argue their case for Essequibo. However, Venezuela is asking for a period of 12 months after Guyana submits its pleadings. The country is asking for the 12-month period to run from the date Guyana completes submitting its documents in October. This is despite the court does not normally approve such a long timeline in a case like this, where one of the parties is asking for an extension to strengthen its case. Venezuela is saying this is a complicated case and therefore warrants more time to prepare for the next stage of the border dispute matter. While both countries see the benefits of getting additional time to plead their case further, Guyana isn't happy with Venezuela's exorbitant request for 12 months. Attorney General Anil Nandlal states, quote, Guyana noted that Venezuela's request for a 12-month period was excessive. This leaves stakeholders baffled as to what else Maduro's country needs to bring to the court to prove ownership of Essequibo. Remember also, Venezuela wishes to prove that the 1899 document in question is invalid and that the dispute can only be settled by the 1966 Geneva Agreement signed between the two countries. Tell us if you think Venezuela should have an entire year instead of 6 months like Guyana. The ICJ will soon issue a decision as to the amount of time each country gets. Team Venezuela was led by Samuel Acosta, the agent for Venezuela to the ICJ, who also was accompanied by a legal team. Check out our video archives for more stories on the Venezuela-Guyana border controversy. Subscribe to stay connected. See you in the next video. Thank you for joining us.